I gotta tell you, there's not a lot of times that I get so super excited to talk to somebody that I'm almost rendered speechless. It is so difficult to do. I was telling Kane that I feel like Chris Farley in that SNL skit when he's sitting down with like some iconic director or actor and he's like, you remember that time? And he can't hardly talk because he's so excited. That's me right now. I'm like Chris Farley from SNL because I've been following this story. First off, I've been a friend of my next guest or a fan of my next guest for, I don't know. I think since I was aware of rock and roll, I learned to play rhythm guitar poorly and drums poorly because of people like my next guest. I love rock and roll partly because of my next guest. I mean, she is an iconic, like pioneer, like OG in rock and roll, period, men or women. Cherie Currie, you know her from the band The Runaways. She also has her own solo material, Boulevards of Splendor, fantastic album. I mean, she's got Juliette Lewis, the Veronicas on this. I mean, it's really cool, and you can go to her website. We'll have all of this stuff down in the lower third about it. Now, insanely, she was speaking out, as you would imagine, because she's, not shied away from giving her opinion. She's punk rock. She spoke out in defense of women and children, particularly with this movement that we have seen lately that is really focusing on transitioning kids while they're in puberty, while they're still developing, dosing them up with hormones and pharmaceuticals before they can actually even give informed consent, because we have no idea what this stuff does to kids long term. And they've gone after her. And by they, the trans tyrant lobby has gone after her for this, and most recently canceled her from a show in Arizona, which is, she was the headliner that night. Cherie Currie joins us now via Skype. And Cherie, first off, God love you. I'm so happy that you're on with me. Thank you so much, for everything that you've done for rock and roll, for all of the women and men that you've inspired, and for sticking up for our kids. I mean, you're just so hardcore. Thank you so much for that.
Dana, well, you're so welcome. And I am such a huge fan of yours, girl. So, I mean, I'm so excited to be here. And thank you for being such,
by the way.
Well, thanks for being such a voice for these kids, because I'm telling you right now, I mean, there's something so evil going on that for someone like me that's been fighting for women's rights since I was a teenager, to actually see women going against women, whether it's in sports or allowing transgender men to swim, to compete against women. And the worst part for me is the children, the fact that they are indoctrinating children in school from kindergarten to third grade. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is absolute insanity. And I've never backed down from anything in my life, but there are three things that I would never back down from. Of course, number one was the Runaways. Number two was picking up a chainsaw. I mean, it was a calling. And fighting against this evil presence that's after our children. I mean, I can't back down. So,
and we're glad that you don't. For those who don't know, Cherie is an amazing chainsaw artist. That's how hardcore she is. Paintbrushes don't do it. She's got to have the chainsaw, and she's like so good at it too. We're talking with Cherie Currie via Skype. For those of you who are just tuning in, all you had done was speak out, as you just said, in defense of this, and I was actually, I don't know why this surprises me anymore. I was taken aback by the treatment that you received. Not like that, deterred you at all, but people went after you as though they were going to try to get you to change your opinion. And all you did was speak out about the dangers of transitioning kids. And it amazes me, Cherie, that we're not questioning the hormones that we're pumping into kids. There are no long-term studies on this, none. We don't know what is going to happen to these kids when they get older. They're going to have to be on medication for their entire lives. I told my radio audience I had an aunt who, when she was going through menopause, she had to get hormones that ultimately actually helped. They attribute her cancer developing to that. We don't even understand what effects this is going to have. You spoke out against that. Did the response to your concern shock you?
Well, it did. And Gretchen Bonaducci, who's really a family member to me now, from Breaking Bonaducci, I'm sure you probably heard of her. She moved to Bisbee. She bought Greenway Manor, and she's transformed Bisbee into this really amazing town. It was lacking for some time. And the only good thing about this, she was the one that was throwing this festival, is once she started to get the threats towards me and towards the festival in itself, and also bands dropping out, she's decided, and she went and filed her paperwork yesterday to run for mayor because she's had it up to here. And she's the kind of gal that we need. We need people like you, Dana, more people like you, like me, that know that this is so wrong what they're doing. And I really kind of right now feel a momentum that, of course, with the UK banning puberty blockers, and which, of course, puberty blockers is different from the hormones that they're giving these kids. And one gal on X that I was able to meet was Luca Hine, and she was transitioned, had her breasts removed at 16. And she was having some mental issues, and they wouldn't address that. Instead, they got a hold of her folks and said, do you want a living son or a dead daughter? And now she is detransitioned. She's in her early 20s, but she really speaks out about the physical damage that these drugs did to her, where she's in constant pain. Her throat, her vocal cords ache. Her joints are so painful, and also she's atrophying. Usually the vagina, they start to fall out of your body. This is what they're doing to our kids.
Yeah, and that's the reality of it. We're talking with Cherie Currie on this. She was going to play the Riot Girl Festival in Bisbee, Arizona, and you got threats. I mean, people, the reaction, and from other women too, which was incredibly surprising. We always hear about consent. I grew up hearing about consent. This isn't informed consent. What's happening here? What do you make of that? Because I don't know if we're ever, we know so little about the consequences of this.
To say it's evil is being kind. The only thing that I can think of is, because you have to try to make some kind of common sense out of something that's just, you can't make sense out of it. To me, I don't know if it's that they're doing it on purpose. Well, of course they're doing it on purpose. Is this some kind of population control? Who the heck knows? These are our children that will probably never have kids because of these drugs, especially these horrible surgeries that are 100% failure rate. 100%. Who does that to your body? People, they can't have orgasms, they can't enjoy sex, and they're destroying these kids. They're taking that away from them. And I think it's just so evil. And I don't know if it's to keep us from seeing the real evil that's going on behind all of this, because it's something that I just cannot make any sense out of. And I'm a common sense gal, you know?
Yeah, it's sad. And you mentioned, some of these detransitioners. And I've watched so many interviews and have read so many pieces that they have written, men and women. And there is a bitterness and an anger that they have. And there was one of the refrains that I see most often is the adults they had trusted in their lives to protect them from these bad choices failed them. And that broke my heart.
Yeah. And not only that, the suicide rate doubles after transition. And that is starting to come out now. The trans community, they like to say that it stops kids from committing suicide, but that's an absolute lie. And once you've packed up your body and you're in turmoil behind the fact that you don't feel like any person's going to want you. Talk about real suicidal ideation. And that's what happens with these kids that regret it. Because again, they're starting with kids that are so young. All they want to do is fit in.
Yeah. And
they're easily molded, and they're easily coerced into these, what I now call the trans cult.
Yeah.
And you've got the teachers, you've got the social workers, and they're doing it behind parents' backs. And, they're very lucky. They're very, very lucky, Dana, that they didn't do this 30 years ago when my kid was a couple of years old, because we would have had to go, girl.
Yeah, and you're a chainsaw artist. You're very good with the chainsaw. I'm just saying.
That I
I
am.
mean,
Yeah.
you know, we're talking with Cherie Currie. I love that. Like I said, I love that you spoke out about all of this. Have you? I'm sure that you've gotten privately a lot of messages of support. It's amazing that it can get so politicized like this, especially when you're just talking about kids. I mean, we're not even talking about adults making decisions with their own money and their own lives. We're talking about children that have adults in their lives to guide them to make healthy decisions. It's, you know, I look at it like if someone's bulimic, you don't aid them in something that is detrimental to their health and overall well-being. And that's really what a lot of adults in these kids' lives, I feel like, are doing.
Yes, and sometimes I don't know if it's kind of like Munchausen by proxy, in a
Yeah.
way with some of these parents that they want to be the cool parent. Oh, I've got a trans kid. It's outrageous how I mean, quadrupled the amount of kids just from just 4 years ago that are now come out as trans. And it's and the parents that get behind this because they want to be the cool parent on the block. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be so cool.
No, you're the
Not me.
coolest though. So I'm just saying. So I feel like that's like the law, what you just said.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's very, very scary. And I think now, and it's voices like yours, Dana, uh, and Luca Hine, and so many others as well that are causing people to take a hard look at this.
Yeah.
And again, I want to thank the UK because now people are going, maybe this wasn't the right. Are you guys out of your minds? The people that are behind this absolutely know why this is happening. And it is not for the betterment of our children, and it's not for the nuclear family. This is the destruction of our kids. And we're going to come after you. We're going to come after you, people, and we're going to stop you. That's what we're going to do, Dana.
That's it. Cherie Currie, absolute legend, absolute rock icon. Thank you so much for everything that you stand for, everything that you continue to stand for, all of the people that you inspire to follow your creative footsteps. We so
Thank you.
appreciate you. Anytime you want to come on, you got a microphone here. I mean, you really classed up the place, so we appreciate you coming on.
Are you kidding? Thank you,
on the
Dana.
program.
Thank
Cherie
you so
Currie,
much.
thank you so much. Good to talk with you.